everyone, welcome back to another session with Kelsel's Arcade. This is Rob and
me, Lily.
And in this session we've got another awesome mod to talk to you about, the Arcade1up Mod for Mario Kart. Now, after you've watched the video you may say, well, it's not really an Arcade1up mod, it doesn't actually have any Arcade1up parts left in it. This is partially true, we do indeed just keep the side panels, but we're going to show you some gameplay and then we're going to do a full install review of the components we use for the mod, talk about some other driving games you might want to play if you do this mod yourself with a Nintendo Switch, and then over to the summary. Lily's going to tell us what she thinks and if this takes #1 spot for her over and above Outrun. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Alright, so let's take a little look at some of the gameplay while we're talking you through some of the components that we used. First up, you can see we dropped in a wider TV. We used an Insignia 24-inch from Best Buy. It was on sale for $79. Next, you can see we got a seat from Summit Racing. Decals added from Gulf Coast Decals. And this was $40, probably about $60 including the postage. And then for the steering wheel we have used a Hori Nintendo Switch official Mario Kart steering wheel. The seat itself mounts on a racing cockpit chassis which we got off of eBay. The control deck had to be made wider, and I'll put the dimensions into the video when we go through the how-to. Had to be made wider so that it accommodates the widescreen TV. Also popped a little decal on the back of the seat here, just to add a finishing touch. Also had to make the Marquee wider, along with the control deck, and then this got wrapped along with the side panels with a full decal set from Justin at Gulf Coast Decals. The Nintendo Switch itself we already had, this just velcros on the back and then plugs into everything else. So first thoughts, gotta say Lily and I are really happy with how this turned out aesthetically. Looks absolutely fantastic. We have got a few areas that are really room for improvement, which we'll talk about. But with that said, let's jump into the how-to, show you how you can do this yourself. So step one, you're going to want to get yourself some decals. Now, both Gulf Coast and Arcade Graphics do a full Mario Kart set, I believe. We got these from Justin and he was able to do as a kind of partial set since we didn't need the riser or the kick plate as an example. So he did this a little bit cheaper for us. Step 2 is to get yourself the cabinet that you're going to mod. All you're actually going to need are the two side panels. Seems like a bit of a waste. Obviously I did not waste a Marvel vs Capcom cabinet here. I was lucky enough to have a buddy on one of the Facebook Arcade1up pages that actually saw I was doing this mod, reached out and gave me these that he had spare completely free of charge. So big shout out there, you know who you are, thanks very much. So step 3 is to apply the decals onto the side panels. We use this simple method here where you just kind of position the decal in place, put some masking tape over half of it, lift back and stick down one side, smoothing it over as you go. This wrap from Justin is really good quality, you don't really get many air bubbles in it. And then finally just smooth it all over and trim it round with a sharp Stanley blade. Justin also chucked in this red trim just to put over the T-moulding, which I think finishes it off real nice. Step 4, you're going to want to get your wheel and screen ready. For the dimensions I'm about to give you for the wood, we have used the Insignia 24-inch screen from Best Buy. It was on sale at $79. I'm not sure if there are other Nintendo Switch compatible wheels available. This is the only one we could find, and it just happens to be a Mario Kart wheel, and this was $99 from Best Buy. So we used a coupon on this, we got this for $80, but these are readily available for $99 right now. So next you're going to need to get yourself 5 pieces of wood cut. You could cut this yourself. I decided to go to my local Home Depot here in Anthem, Arizona. Fantastic team there, really helpful, cut all of this for me free of charge. First of all, if you go to the MDF section, the smallest piece they're going to have is this piece that I used here, and you can get all 3 pieces cut out of the same piece for $15. So the back itself is basically going to be the remainder of the wood, which works out to be 21 3/4, which is going to sit the monitor in perfectly by 36 inches height. Also, the marquee cut out of this same sheet of MDF is going to be again 21 3/4 by 5 inches. You could make the marquee bigger if you wanted to, but these are the dimensions that I used. And then the rear top, this is not MDF, this is the thinner kind of blackboard material they have. You can get a whole sheet, I think this was $6. This is going to be 21 3/4 again by 10 7/8, and that'll fit in nicely and fill the gap at the top for you. And then also out of that kind of blackboard material, I wanted to fill in the gap between the control deck and the bottom of the screen. So again, 21 3/4 by 7 inches. The deck itself needs to be slightly wider because it's going to sit on top of the side panels. So that's 22 5/8 by 7 3/4. And again, once you've got these cut, you're then going to want to apply those decals from Gulf Coast or one of the other vendors of your choosing. Just a note here, do check the measurements yourself before getting the wood cut. I can't account for variations in the insignia screen, or indeed if you use a different screen, so check this out for yourself, don't just go by my dimensions on here. So step 6, you're going to want to put the new back panel and attach that to the newly wrapped side panels. What I recommend you do here is kind of place or measure the back panel against the side panels and mark where you're going to drill pilot holes. So you'll drill 2 pilot holes into the edging of the back panel, and then use 3-inch wood screws just to put through the existing holes in the side panels into those pilot holes in the back panel, and you can fix that in place. And with the pilot holes, you'll remove the risk of splitting the wood with the screws. So step 7, we're going to fix in the marquee and the new control deck. Now the marquee is just going to be the same method as step 6. Mark your pilot holes, drill those pilot holes out, use wood screws in the existing holes. For the deck itself, drill your pilot holes through, taking care to measure where the little screw holes are in the side panels, and then just use the same 4 screws that came with whatever system you use for this mod. Use those same screws from Arcade1up just to bolt through the new deck into the existing kind of connecting holes on the original Arcade1up side panels. Next, you're going to want to place your TV into the cabinet. Now, if you've done the measurements correctly, this is going to be a real tight fit, so you may have to just loosen off the wood screws between the side panel and the marquee. Drop it into position. It will naturally want to rest into the original grooves in the Arcade1up side panels. This is going to have it tilt back too far though, and for sit-down driving, you're going to want the screen to be more upright. So put it into place, into position that you're happy with, and then obviously if you tighten back up the screw into the marquee, the tension between the 2 side panels is actually going to secure this screen in place pretty good. You will not require a further mounting kit, but you could add one if you wanted a more professional fit. Also, we just put some black duct tape around the back edge, taping the screen onto the marquee and to the edges, just for some additional security and to hold it in place. So step 9, we're going to pop the rear top into position. Again, this is going to be a real snug fit. If you wanted to notch out the sides of the panel to fit into the existing grooves, you could do. I was just trying to do this quickly. If you want a more professional fit, you could do that. Otherwise, it will just fit in nice and snug. It's certainly not going to move anywhere. Do make sure you pull out the HDMI cable from the TV, leave a gap between the top panel and the back panel, so you can feed that out and eventually plug that into the Nintendo Switch. Step 10, we're going to want to put the front panel in place. Now again, this is going to be a snug fit. It will sit in fairly nice and tight on its own, but you could put some duct tape around the back just to secure it further. You will see visible ridges in the side panels, which is where the original screen would have gone. For a more professional finish, you could put some wood filler in here and spray paint black before you put the TV and everything else in. We'll probably do that with the next mod we do, which will be the Sega Rally, but for this one we just use some black tape, as you'll see in the finished version, and it's barely noticeable, to be honest. So a couple of options there depending on the quality of finish that you're looking for. Okay, so next you're going to want to assemble the racing simulator cockpit. We got this off eBay, there's a link in the description here. And then I'm not going to go into the details on how to assemble that. It comes with instructions, it's fairly straightforward. You will then need to drill some holes in this particular model so that you can put the bolts through from the underside and attach the racing chair. After this, you can put the Mario Kart Hori wheel onto the deck of the racing simulator. It comes with a mounting kit, so you can fix this in place nicely, and this will then slide into and under your Mario Kart Arcade1up. So final step really is just to secure your Nintendo Switch in place and connect it all up. So first of all, you just take the docking station from the Switch. We use some double-sided sticky back Velcro to pop that onto the Switch and then secure it in place onto the top panel. We ended up putting the power cable for the Switch back down inside so that we could put it into a power connector underneath the cabinet, and then obviously your HDMI from the TV is going to go into the dock, and we use a little bit of duct tape here just to hold the wires in place as well, keep it nice and tidy. Then obviously just pop your Switch in. Your power to your Switch is going to be controlled by the button which is visible from the front of the cabinet, and then obviously your TV is going to be controlled separately with the remote that came with the TV. And with that, you should be pretty much good to get stuck into some gameplay. So I'll let Lily do a summary of what she thinks in terms of the overall review of this cabinet, but I just want to kind of point out something from a financial perspective. We've tried to do this fairly cheaply. If we take into account $50 for wood, $50 for side panels, if we'd have paid for them, you're going to need to pay at least that to find a cab to mod. The steering wheel for $100. There are probably better options out there with force feedback. This one does not have force feedback. The Switch itself we already had, but had we bought that would have been $300. The screen $80, racing cockpit $75, the seat $40, and the decal $60. This all comes out at $720 for a cabinet that's primarily going to be used to play Mario Kart. Yes, we can play other games, and we'll take a look at those in a minute. But if I compare this to Outrun for $500, Outrun 1, I can play it and Lily can play it with the adjustable seat, whereas this is a little bit too small for me, a little bit too big for Lily. It really does put things into perspective, and when I compare to that Outrun cabinet, that is great value in comparison. Would I do this again? Absolutely. But it does come with a hefty price tag, and we've done this fairly cheaply. We've put the monitor in place with duct tape. If you bought a bracket, you'd probably be looking at another $50 or so there. We use tape to cover up some of the holes in the panels. If you wanted to use wood filler and spray those, it's going to increase the price. Maybe you want a more comfortable seat or an adjustable seat. You're going to be talking well over $1,000. So just keep that in mind if this is something you're going to do. Yeah, it's fun, pretty cool to have a Mario Kart cab. I don't think you could do it much cheaper than this, but you could certainly spend a lot more. So do keep that in mind. So anyway, with that said, let's jump in and have a look at what other games you might want to play on this besides Mario Kart. Okay, so first up, let's take a look at Asphalt. This is definitely a much easier game to pick up and play versus some of the more kind of simulator type games like WRC. It's got a great mode for kids as well that kind of helps with the steering, although Lily doesn't much like this, she prefers Mario Kart. But definitely a good game to play. It's got a feel of Cruising Blast almost to it, but that game is coming out on the Switch very soon. But this is a fun game. It's free to download, but then if you want car packs and such, you'll start to get into 40, 50 bucks and more to really get the most out of this game. Alright, so let's take a look at Outrun next. Obviously we already have this, but what the hell? Let's check it out on here. Lots more settings on here, but essentially it's the same game as on the Arcade1up, which is obviously the original arcade ROM. Gotta say, I prefer playing this with the wheel and the controls on the 1up system, but yeah, thought I'd just show it for fun. Now there are more music tracks to select from on here, but obviously the original soundtrack is the best.
Get ready.
Well, that's enough of Outrun. Let's check out some other ones. And since this is in fact a Mario Kart mod, let's have a look at a little bit more gameplay from Mario Kart next. And I've got to say, I'm very pleased that we did put in the widescreen here and didn't just use a stock Arcade1up screen. I don't think, in particular, Mario Kart would have played particularly well on the stock screen. Obviously looks great on this, so super pleased how this turned out. So next up, I know there's Gear Club 2. I'm not going to show that in this review. I may get it at some point in the future, but I'm going to be happy playing Asphalt for now. But while I was checking out and re-downloading Outrun, I noticed Gear Club was available for $2.99. So for $3, I thought let's have a look at this and see how this plays. So the steering's a little bit more sensitive than Asphalt, definitely more of a realistic simulator versus kind of arcade action that Asphalt is. Not too bad, but let's play it a little bit more and give you a final summary. So once you finish that kind of first intro in the McLaren, it then takes you about 5 or 10 minutes to go through a bunch of setup and config and look at the garage, and ultimately you get to pick this crappy Camaro, which kind of really is a bit of a come down from the McLaren. I prefer a game where you can get straight into it and start playing with the faster cars. Asphalt in comparison is a lot better. This $2.99, if you're bored, maybe worth it. Waste of $3 otherwise, for me. Alright, so what else we got here? Asphalt we already showed. Burnout Paradise, I remember was pretty good on the Xbox, could give that a go. Need for Speed Remastered seems to rank fairly highly. MotoGP is on offer right now. There's Star Wars Pod Racer on here, that could be pretty cool. Let's check that out. Alright, so next one down on the list was Grid. It seems pretty cool, not bad value at $35. I'm not going to download this right now, having just paid about $30-40 for car packs in Asphalt, but let's have a quick look at it anyway. From the video at least, it looks pretty cool. Probably one for the kind of wish list for later on after we finish playing and getting through some more gameplay on Asphalt. Otherwise, just going down the list, the only other one I guess I'd recommend would be WRC. This looks pretty cool. Let's take a look. Okay, so the video was good enough to sell me on this one. I'm going to go ahead and purchase, and not for this video, but we'll tell you what we think on this one once we've played this a bit more.
Okay, so thank you very much for watching so far. Hope you found the how-to informative, gave you some ideas for what you might do if you want to use different decals, maybe theme it to a different game. The upcoming Cruising Blast, for example, would be a great one. But let's talk summary. Lily, what do you think? Is it your favourite Arcade1up in the room?
No.
Is that a no? Why?
No.
Let's talk to the camera so they can hear you.
Well, personally, That's a biggie.
In case you can't hear Lily, just to summarise the seat height. I think this is a great point, Lily. The Outrun Arcade1up, you know, people complained it was too small for an adult, but it's also good for a child. You know, what we've done here is a good effort, but you know, we don't have the full design expertise of a company behind us. The seat's a little bit too far forward for me. You might look at adjusting that. And it's a little too low down for Lily. So some other adjustments we could do there. What else? What about the game? You prefer the game over Outrun? Would you play it more?
I mean, graphics definitely better. First, I love Mario Kart. It's a good game, but also kind of boring sometimes if I don't feel like playing it. You know.
I have no idea what accent that was or what you were saying, but so in summary, do you still prefer Outrun?
Yeah, probably by like that much.
Okay, so Outrun's still number one for Lily. I think this is pretty cool. I was going to do Sega Rally with the Sega Saturn. We've got another couple of side panels. We're going to do that next. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye!